Hi, if we haven't met before, I am Dr. Michelle Rigling. I'm a transpersonal counselor and a mycotherapist in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And my private practice is the Cavewoman Way. And today I want to tell you a little bit about our upcoming Wild Communion microdosing cohort. So, Wild Communion is going to be a microdosing series unlike anything else I've seen online. While most microdosing series focus mostly on the science and the modern protocols, which we will be doing, I have yet to find one that really focuses on the sacred and the ritualistic side of microdosing. And in my work with people individually, I find that without tending to the rituals of microdosing and looking at microdosing as more than a supplement practice or a medicinal protocol, it can be really hard to not only stick with microdosing, but it can also be really hard to tune into and sense the subtle magic and the even the therapeutic benefits of microdosing. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this today and share some information about what you might expect. So, Wild Communion is going to be an experiential, c- a ceremonial journey. So, over the course of 8 weeks, we'll learn a little bit about microdosing together. We'll prepare together as a group. We'll set intentions and, share what brings us to the microdosing practice. Then we'll walk through the microdosing threshold together, all of us starting microdosing within the same couple of days with one another. And then we'll be there together for several more weeks in groups and coaching sessions to support each other as we navigate the insights that might unfold, the invitations that might arise, the challenges or triggers that might come up, and also learn about what integration looks like in the context of microdosing and how to continue the journey after the series is over. So, when we talk about the mystical side and the sacred side of microdosing, we're talking about things like ritual, dream work, poetry, even looking at the mythic medicine of microdosing, which will be really interesting and juicy. And so, we're really leaning into the realms of spirit and soul, not just, like I said earlier, the medicinal protocols or the modern medicine's take on this practice. And so, what is microdosing? That might have been good to cover earlier, but microdosing is taking a very small amount, a sub-threshold dose, as it's called, of either a psychedelic substance or a specific psychoactive mushroom or plant, such as Amanita muscaria. And so, for our series, we're going to be supporting people who are microdosing with psilocybin mushrooms or Amanita muscaria mushrooms. And it's important that you know a bit about whichever of these medicines you want to microdose with, um, we're going to talk about the differences between these mushrooms and some of their compounds and the effects and the risks and things like that our first week. But if you don't know anything about microdosing at all, then there's some other resources on our website you might want to look into, or you can schedule a free, completely no obligation phone call with me just to kind of go over some basics. Because it's good to have just a little bit of safety information and just a little bit of other knowledge before diving into the series. But if this is the first time you're really hearing about microdosing, or you've been curious but you haven't had the time to learn anything, you've got some time to kind of figure out if this is for you or not between now and when the series starts in February. So, when I say a sub-threshold dose, what that means is whether you're microdosing with Amanita or you're microdosing with psilocybin, the dose that you take each day doesn't interfere with your everyday functioning. It may make you a little more alert. It may make you more creative. It may have an impact on your dreams. It may give you a little bit more energy. It may make you more introspective, or some other reasons people microdose are to help with certain physical or emotional experiences that they're having, maybe anxiety or depression or trouble sleep or trouble concentrating. Now, this is no way am I saying or guaranteeing that microdosing will definitely help with any of those things, but these are the benefits that thousands and thousands of people have reported from microdosing. So that's what microdosing is. It's following a certain schedule, taking a very, very small dose. We'll, in the series, help you find your sweet spot for your medicine and your microdose, and then taking that dose on a schedule over the course of several weeks. And then after several weeks, you take a break, and then you choose whether you want to continue microdosing or if you want to stop for now. So, one of the things that I like to share with people as really an encouragement to consider this cohort is why microdosing is challenging for a lot of people. And so, without support and someone to not only hold you accountable, but also kind of to help you get really curious and think outside the box sometimes, it's very easy with microdosing to miss the magic. Magic's subtle. It's a microdose. So whereas if you journey with psilocybin or you have a really large dose of Amanita muscaria, it's really hard to miss the magic. If that's what you want to call it. But with microdosing, it can be really easy to miss it. If we don't carve out space, if we don't have someone to talk things through with and process our challenges with, so we might overmiss or dismiss some of the invitations that show up. We might overthink or overanalyze synchronicities or dreams that may be mystical in nature, or they may be inviting us to look at things in a really different way than our minds are used to approaching things. I find that both psilocybin mushrooms and Amanita muscaria have a very unique mystical language. And so when we're trying to use the language of our mind, a lot of times we miss some of the really important information that they're trying to communicate with us. So we also, something that can happen is we'll misjudge disruptive or uncomfortable experiences that start happening when we start microdosing. And we will decide that these are bad experiences or that they're negative side effects, and we will stop microdosing. And while occasionally there are bad experiences, you may have some sort of reaction to the medicine or it may be too disruptive. In general, these disruptions or these discomforts are simply the wisdom of the mushrooms trying to get your attention about something. They're trying to expose something or amplify something that you really need to look at that will contribute to or help you move through the entire intention you have started microdosing with to start with. But without having someone to kind of help you think through that, point out some things, ask you some insightful questions, occasionally mirror back some things that you're saying, it can be really hard to miss every bit of that and either decide that you had a bad experience or that it just didn't work for you at all. So you really need strong support when you're microdosing. And strong support doesn't have to look like a mentor or a series like this, but it wouldn't, from my experience, strong support when microdosing looks like a partner or a close friend who really understands the sacred medicine you're microdosing with, and maybe they're also microdosing or they have in the past. Or it looks like pretty consistent and intensive microdosing integration groups. So this might be like a twice a week group that you're attending online. That's not necessarily being facilitated as an entire guided cohort like we're doing. We're going to be doing a lot more than just talking about integration, but there are ongoing integration groups online that are kind of like drop-in circles. And so it's hard to find groups like that are specific to microdosing, though. They're usually very general, and they're pretty open in terms of like what's being discussed. There's new people every week. The facilitators may change week to week. And so I just think that microdosing is one of those things that can be really, really beneficial to have, especially when you first start out, especially for that first month or two, to help you find your sweet spot, to see like, is my dose too high or low? Is anything happening? Even if I don't think it is, maybe I'm missing something. All that can be really, really helpful with microdosing. So I'm really excited about this series. It's our pilot series that's going to be starting in February of 2026. And so we've priced it accordingly, being our first series. And we've also done everything that we can to keep the series as accessible price-wise as possible. So other microdosing cohorts that are online groups that span, 6 to 8 weeks typically range from $595 to $995. We are offering this cohort at a much lower price. We hope we can continue to do that after February, but we don't really know. We've got a sliding scale option. We've even got the option to register with a deposit and then pay the rest a little bit later. And so, for the cost of about 3 or 4 private microdosing mentorship sessions, you're going to get over 10 hours of group, and that will be led by me. So this will be preparation coaching, microdosing guidance, ritual suggestions, group kind of almost like group counseling in some ways with whatever's going on with each person in relationship to their microdosing journey and what they feel comfortable talking about in the group setting. It's going to be integration work. There'll be do-it-yourself rituals that you can choose to do in between our sessions. There will be journaling prompts that you can work with in between our sessions. And then there'll be integration sessions at the end as well. And so, yes, journaling templates, all kinds of extra resources to support you along the journey of the 8 weeks we're together and beyond. So I hope that you will consider joining us. Like I said, I'm so excited about this and supporting people who are working with psychedelic mushrooms and plants is something that I spend a good portion of my time doing. And it just makes me feel really honored to be in this space with people. It's a unique space. It's really hard to find really good support in our culture today around the sacred side of working with these medicines. And so, with all of the promising research and clinical data, lots and lots of people are talking about psychedelics. There's many new books about microdosing and the benefits of psilocybin and some of these other compounds on the nervous system and on repairing and rewiring the brain. But it's a little bit harder to find some of the information on the rituals and the traditions and the folk medicine of this practice. And so I really want to bring both of these together in a series for a more whole self and whole medicine approach to microdosing. So I hope you'll join me. You can learn more about this at thecavewomanway.com/wildcommunion, and I hope to see you there.